So this was requested by a viewer. We're doing a compare and contrast in this video of the Moonchild Tarot by Danielle Knoll. Oh, my camera's not liking that. And the She-Wolf Tarot by Serpent Fire. The tuck boxes, we'll start there. The tuck boxes are very similar, nice, and the Moonchild Tarot has a little bit of like a suede finish to it. The She-Wolf is simply matte, but very similar size and feel. And here is the back of the She-Wolf Tarot here with your Odyssey Awaits. The Moonchild Tarot is here. This is an 81 card deck. This is a 80 card deck here with the She-Wolf Tarot. So really, similar in that they've added a few extra cards. Both artists feel like there are very specific reasons why they have, and they do discuss that in the guidebook. As I said in the review I just did, here is the inside of the She-Wolf Tarot. And just so I'll read this for you. Where the road ends, the journey begins. Ancient pathways are known by the future self. Your odyssey awaits amidst dunes of self-love. Sands of time do not bury our universal truth. Come now and find, beautiful seeker, the eternal ones are here to guide you and unfold your infinite awakening. The inside of the Moonchild Tarot, here is the inside. And the inside of this tuck box says, you are the dance of light and shadow. Both the editions that I have of both of these are independently produced. Danielle Knoll has since gone on to mass produce, I believe, at least one of her tarot decks. So I don't know if she's mass produced this since then. This is the indie independently published version of this deck. I believe both decks were similarly priced, but I had to pay Canada shipping for Moonchild. I don't know about Serpent Fire. I can't remember. This is what, guys, I purchased these decks like years ago, to be honest with you. So I don't know. I think I might have paid $80 for the Moonchild. I paid at least $60 or $70 for the She-Wolf. So as you can see, tuck boxes are similar. The guidebooks, Danielle's is definitely fatter than the She-Wolf. Here's the She-Wolf Tarot and guidebook, and here is the Moonchild Tarot. Let me just tell you how many pages for the review. This has 279. This one has like 184. Okay, so that's our difference. The guidebook is a little nicer as far as production quality in the Moonchild Tarot, just to be completely honest. She goes into a lot of history about the moon, the elements, why she's put the deck together this way. She has keywords in the meanings. She also has reversals, as well as a brief description of the imagery that she chose in the photography of the deck. Serpent Fire does something very similar. I think she has a little bit more meat to her meanings, but she as well, in each of the card meanings, discusses why she chose the imagery she did, and kind of how you may experience connecting with the deck in a different way than Rider-Waite-Smith. So there are no card reproductions in the She-Wolf. There are small card reproductions in the Moonchild Tarot. Both decks are created by female artists. Both are photo manipulation in that type of genre. And so in that, I can see why one of you asked me to compare and contrast, because there is that feel. Now, the Moonchild, the premise of this is that it's based on the moon. The She-Wolf does have an intergalactic feel. Both feel divine feminine focused for me. And I do think both decks attempt to address a theme of empowerment for the querent. I will talk about if I think both were successful in a moment. So I'm going to break down and show you the cards themselves. So this is the She-Wolf, not matte, typical sliding, cards that have an ability to slide, rose gold edging, no borders. Oh, I'm so sorry. There is nudity in these decks. If you're uncomfortable with nudity, you won't want to watch the rest of this video. The Moonchild, excuse me, the Moonchild Tarot. This is the backing on the Moonchild. Gold edging, no borders on the cards for these as well. Let me just compare deck size for you so you can see. The Wolfe Tarot is a little bit bigger. The Moonchild Tarot is relatively matte, I would say. Relatively matte, but it's not like, it doesn't have a suede, that really delicious, soft feeling that the Witch's Tarot and True Black Tarot have. It's not that type of matte. It's just a straight up nice flat black matte. I mean, flat matte, excuse me. Let's see. What else do I want to say just before I get into kind of comparing and contrasting the imagery? There is more of a 70s color theme, I would say, more in like an ochre tone, juxtapositioned with bright and intense color in the Wolfe Tarot. The Moonchild Tarot is typical Danielle Knoll. It kind of has that a little bit 70s feel, but more like in purples and blues and faded tones like that. Okay, so if you have worked with any of Danielle Knoll's decks, this deck is no different than any of the other decks that you may have in your collection by her. So it definitely has that type of feel. Both decks do have a new age feel. I think that Danielle Knoll has more of a mass appeal new age feel to it. The Wolfe Tarot feels more like the Thoth to me, and it's a little bit more off the beaten path in its kind of new age feel, but both definitely do carry that feeling with them for sure. I'm going to show you some of the imagery in the Moonchild Tarot. As you all know, I really loved Danielle's first deck. I did like a full review on the channel. I really felt that that deck at the time was unique, very different, and it was enjoyable to work with. Her second deck, the Akashic version of that deck, was another one that, while I'm not in love with, definitely gives a very accurate read and has very big messages to share and will almost take you on a shamanic journey if you choose to connect that deeply with the deck. This deck I'm going to be completely honest with you all, I don't even think there's a review of this deck on the channel because I just have not been able to connect with it. I don't know if I was just kind of burnt out on the fact that a lot of other artists were, to be honest with you all, I think kind of copying her artwork, feel and style, perhaps not outright copying her, but there became this kind of mass producing of this type of feel of imagery. And after a while, it just got really old for me, and I didn't feel a sense of connection with this deck. I have yet to feel a sense of connection with this deck. Also, the only reason why I still have this deck is because it did cost me so much money, and I really love the backings. The backings are absolutely gorgeous on this deck. It is a deck that I do have on my list of decks to try to work with personally and connect with, but I don't currently offer readings with this deck. She's not in my ride or die pack. She just kind of sits there looking beautiful, to be really honest with you all. I don't lie in my reviews. This is a gorgeous deck. If you are drawn to the visuals and it's still available for purchase, which if it is, I will find a link below for you. Then please, feel empowered and encouraged to go ahead and get that. I don't think that she phoned it in on this one. The three decks feel very much the same to me. As if she just was kind of changing the imagery up a little bit in each deck, instead of following a different path, a different take in the tarot decks. This is also very similar to Rider-Waite-Smith. So you can very easily just work with this deck like you would a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It's not something that is exploring new themes, in my opinion. And again, this is my opinion. I'm comparing and contrasting because I was asked to. And it's my honest opinion. I've purchased both decks. Neither were sent to me to review. It's not like I, am trying to encourage you to buy one over the other. I'm just comparing and contrasting for you. It's very similar to the other 2 tarot decks that I have by her. I believe I gifted the first edition I had of her first deck. What is that one called? The Starchild Tarot? But I did keep the Akashic one. So that is, and I'll show you one last one here. I mean, they're lovely imagery, and they do have a mass appeal. The color tone is lovely. That is her trademark. She stayed true to her trademark, and that is a beautiful thing. If you're drawn to this deck, then I would say, and it's still available for purchase, definitely invest in a copy of the Moonchild Tarot. For me, a longtime collector of decks, a professional reader for, oh my God, I think 11 years now. It's crazy. It feels crazy to say that. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. The Moonchild Tarot feels like a lot, just honestly, a lot of other decks that I've seen and worked with. I really am struggling still to connect with the concept and the feel of it being different. So for me, that's the Moonchild Tarot. The She-Wolf Tarot, on the other hand, there is nudity in this deck, guys, a lot of it. I actually really love. It feels very different to me. It's still New Age. It's still Divine Feminine. It's both have Egyptian pantheon roots, and I think you can see that in the imagery in both. So it was a really wonderful and great request that these two be compared and contrasted. The color, there is a very clear color theme in each of the decks. They're almost similar, but when you get into the 2 decks, the She-Wolf is much punchier. Her use of the colors and the compare and contrast, the contrast of each of the brighter colors with the softer tones is really enjoyable to the eye. It also makes it very easy to see the story in your spread by looking at the contrast of the colors, which as a visual reader, I really enjoy. So both have an intergalactic feel. Again, Danielle Knowles is one that, and this is not her fault. I think a lot of people were copying her work too, but it's something that we've kind of seen with this kind of collage photo manipulation work. I do feel like the Serpent Fire deck, the She-Wolf Tarot, it's almost a little bit jarring and surprising the way that she added the collage effect and the photo manipulation with the planets in such a way that, like, here's a perfect example of that with the Four of Swords. It doesn't feel typical. It feels different, and it feels kind of opening. It's encouraging you to look at that, feel a different way. And you definitely get that 70s Bowie vibe from this deck. Oh my God, I just love this deck so much. I actually really use this deck. I feel very connected with it. As I said in the review that I just did, she gets a solid 9 out of 10 for me. I think she really knocked this one out of the park. I like that she isn't just like creating more tarot decks, oracle decks, like slamming them out here constantly, because I feel like when we slow down sometimes, we create a fully fleshed out work. I want to make sure I word that carefully, because I do think Danielle loves and values tarot and her work, and I am in no way saying she phoned it in. But I do feel I get a different sense from the She-Wolf Tarot. Now, I know I don't follow what's going on popularly in the community. It's just not my jam. I don't have time for that, and I would rather be out there doing readings than talking about decks that are being made, that are coming out or whatever, in the near future. So, but I did hear or read something about how she was, like, her first deck was featured in a really big magazine. I don't know, it might have been Vogue or Cosmopolitan or something. And so I do understand that she, like Serpent Fire has now had this really big explosion, I guess, of popularity in the tarot community. And I can't really speak to that because, again, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm focused on my experience with the decks that I've purchased. I purchased both of these before they were huge, big sellers. I purchased both of these when they were independently created and produced and published. And so I am approaching my compare and contrast from that space, not from what's popularly known about both of them now at this time. Just to clarify that for you guys. And so if you do know, newer tea on the two of them, you can take that into account for yourself and your own feeling and experience with the decks. But out of the two, for me, if it came down to which of the two am I going to have and work with, it's a She-Wolfe Tarot, hands down. Hands freaking down. No questions, no doubt about that for me. I love this deck. I love the feel of it. I love working with her. I feel like she cuts through the BS. She's empowering, and I know her voice and personality. The Moonchild Tarot, she and I have not been able to connect and find each other's personalities and how we're going to work together. And that just happens sometimes when you work with more than one deck. If you have a collection or you're purchasing new decks, you're not going to connect with each deck the same way. At least not for the way I experience working with decks. When you're creating 78 cards, you are spending, it's a labor of love as the artist and creator or creatrix. And so there is a feel and a personality to each deck. I don't consider them to not have personalities, and that each one is not distinct. When we get into a space of like just doing the same thing over and over, that can be where it's hard for me to find the personality. But the decks that I keep are ones that have a really clear personality for me as a reader and that I connect with. Now, I may connect with a deck that you don't connect with, and that's totally fine. That's the beauty of freedom and being in a space where there are decks to choose from. So it's really about what deck personally for you resonates. Of the two in this kind of battle, the She-Wolfe Tarot wins hands down for me. She's one, like when I was asked to do this, I was like, yeah, that's a really great request. But then I was like, boy, I really don't even like, what is the Moonchild's personality? And I was trying to sit with how I would describe that. It's an absolutely lovely deck to look at. I really haven't found her voice as a deck to read with at this time. And I have had the deck for a very long time. So, Moonchild Tarot versus She-Wolfe Tarot. If I can only have one, hands down, it is the She-Wolfe Tarot any day of the week. If either of these decks are available to purchase at this date and time of recording and uploading, I will put those links below. Thank you to the viewer who requested this. If you do have any requests for videos, just feel free to drop a comment below the video. I don't always get to respond to everyone, but I do try as much as possible to look at the responses for each video so that I can add to my list of viewer request videos. I do take, into very strong consideration what you all would like to see on the channel. So, much love, many blessings, guys. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.